Hi, I'm Dennis Weese for Eagle Communications. Welcome to our town. We're doing a blast from the past today. So we're at the Abilene Public Library with James Holland, who we haven't seen in a while in front of that camera.
It's been a few months, yeah.
Yeah. So, and your title here at the city is?
Community Development Director.
Community Development Director. Has a familiar ring to it.
It does.
Yes.
It rolls off the tongue.
Okay. So, what we're doing today for our town, this show was always about the good things going on in our community, and you have sat in that chair a time or three. You've sat in this chair quite a few times
interviewer and the
doing
interviewee, yes.
Abilene Means Business when you were the chamber director for the greater Abilene area. We miss you, by the way. We enjoyed that show. Okay,
yes.
So here we go. We're still talking about the same thing, the good things going on in our community. I thought it would be great to see the perspective, the new old perspective that you have from community development. So what are you seeing? What's going on?
Well, a couple of things I'm seeing right now is we're seeing more interest in interstate related retail. So that being said, you know, Love's is looking to build a truck stop up near Russell Stover interchange up there, and that promises to be a big boom for interstate travelers and of course the local economy, at least in development around that interchange. I think, you know,
Sure.
A development like that is likely to spur interest in other development in that area.
Right. I would agree.
Yeah, and we've also got, of course, 24/7 and Mark Augustine with Triplet. You know, that company's been a good partner all along the I-70 corridor in
Long time
in Kansas, and so they're doing a redevelopment of their location up on North Buckeye, just south of I-70. So those are two very exciting things that are going on.
Okay.
Once again, catering to the traveling public and also the truck drivers and the people involved in the transportation. So that's,
you know, you
things.
don't have to be too intimately involved for very long in development issues before you find out just how hard it is to make everything work. And what brings that to mind is the 24/7 development up there. Well, it's not just a development. The first thing you had to do was acquire, tear down, clear it off,
right.
Dig up all the old bad stuff, put some good stuff down for dirt, and then start looking for a development plan.
Yep.
So, you know, there's a lot of natural barriers, James, to development. Just the access to capital, the great idea that turns it into a business plan, and then a great business plan that makes it profitable. All of those things are barriers to business people that you and I both know well.
Yep.
So, you know, as we watch this go on, what's the role of the city? How are we proving to these developers that Abilene's the place they want to be?
Well, I'll tell you, in my particular role, which as Community Development Director, deals with all aspects of development, whether it's the economic development incentives, the permitting, the zoning, you know, and I've always looked at the job as it's my job to shepherd that developer through the regulatory process, and the regulatory process, of course, is there to protect the general public health, safety, and welfare. So it's kind of a balancing act between making sure things are done right, and then, you know, that protects the citizens of Abilene, but also at the same time, part of that health and safety and welfare is bringing new jobs and new money into town. So it's kind of a balancing act there. But once again, I see myself as shepherding people who want to invest in this community through that process and making it as easy as possible and friendly as possible for them within the parameters of what we're working with. So
I like that description, shepherding people through the process.
Right.
I know you as a person and your interest, you would be very interested in going out into the wide world and rounding up some prospects for Abilene, because that's what you like. You like business, you like great ideas, you like to do big things. So I could see you having a lot of fun with that rope, okay? The reality of it is, small cities like Abilene, and I think we're certainly included in this group, do not routinely do that. And even when they go do it, they're almost barred from doing it well because of no money.
Right.
okay?
Exactly.
So the long loop for wild cattle in development is really not what we do here.
Right.
We get lucky. Dwight David Eisenhower moved I-70 from about Concordia down to where Abilene is, okay? So we can't take credit for that. I don't think we can take credit for Love's being interested in having a truck stop on I-70. That's their business model. Mark Augustine and Triplet, as you said, their entire business is interstate marketing of fuel products and convenience stores wrapped around it. We're just lucky enough that Abilene is one of the places they were interested in years ago. Fair enough? Okay?
Sure. Yep.
So, but now we're to your comment, shepherding people through the process. I would like to put my stake in the sand and for small town and including Abilene. That's where you can either make or break development. Yep. It's how carefully you work with these people to bring a positive outcome for both sides of the equation.
And a first impression. I mean, you've always heard first impressions are important. Well, you know, oftentimes, you know, our office and myself are either the first or second person that somebody ends up talking to when they're coming to the community. I mean, they might talk to a realtor first, but ultimately, if they're bringing a business and investment, they're going to come into our door. And making sure that we're, you know, easy to work with, friendly. We're not a downer on the process and what they're trying to accomplish. As long as you can do those things, I think you make a good impression. And you know, I've heard from lots of different developers over the years and people investing in Abilene say, you know, this was one of the easiest processes, and you're one of the most easy to get along with departments you know you can have, because you know, government has a bad rap sometimes, local government, and part of it is the attitude of the street level bureaucrat, and that's not who I am, and that's not what Abilene is, and so we don't frighten people off or make people regret that they came here.
In dealing with customers in the public, if you ask enough questions, hear enough stories, you will hear a negative about everybody and everything sooner or later.
Sure.
So you can't insulate yourself from the "they were not nice to me" story.
Right.
You simply have to reduce the number of those occurrences. And my team at Eagle is used to me telling them over and over and over and over the power of yes versus the power of no. It's not that we don't say no once in a while in the world, but if it's what your outcome directive in your heart is or isn't.
Yeah.
You know, if you're looking to help or serve people, then the power of yes has to rule your business life. It's not that you can't say no, but you do have to think a long time about whether no is a valid answer before you give it. Yeah. Yes is an automatic answer. Yes, but's okay too.
Yeah. Well, and customer service is about being able to tell people no in a way that's not obnoxious, I guess, or displeasing.
You think you know a lot about our business and communications and what we've done over the years. You've known me a long time and watched Eagle grow here in our community since the day we came in. I look at our company today, and we are very little like we used to be in how and what we do business with. So if you would go back 10 years, Eagle Communications and what we say yes to today, those would have all been no's. And I can also tell you that the migration to our new product platform and all the things we do was not with we sat in a room one day and said, okay, now all those no answers are yes answers. It happened, quite frankly, the opposite way. We went out to the customer and to the world and said, what do you want, what do you need? And when those requests came, we simply said, okay, in other words, yes. It'll take me a little bit to figure out how to do that for you.
Yeah.
We built largely what we had based on the world looking at us and saying, can you, will you? And the answer was yes. Didn't mean I had it, didn't mean it was available today. It meant, you know, we put all of this infrastructure together based out of demand from people out there.
Sure. And
I think that's all the difference for a small city. I don't think we have to have every answer be everything to everybody, but we better be willing to try.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. See what those trends are.
Okay, so community development. You know that zoning is one of those things that gives me hives. And hey, I'm going to do a public service announcement in the middle of this program.
Okay.
Okay, you out there in TV land, if you're 50 years old and older and you had chicken pox when you were young, shingles are something you want to look to avoid. As I'm just getting over that little problem. It's not a little problem at all. So you should talk to your family doctor about a vaccination, or if you're 50 years older or older, and had chicken pox in your past, you don't want shingles. So hives made me think of that. Zoning gives me the hives. It's a necessary thing we have to do. You know, there has to be regulation to make sure that we're proceeding as a community in an orderly way. I think it's one of the things that small cities just don't do very well. And the reason I think we don't do it very well is because the process by how one acquires zoning regulations is flawed. And that is, we ask some consultant to go bring us stuff, and he brings us stuff he's already done, you know. So now
you've hit on one of those things about this profession that I've been involved in now for 20 years. One of the things that first of all, I like to think that I think for myself, first of all.
I know you do.
And it drives me insane when a community will go out and they will plagiarize from a completely dissimilar community and just copy their zoning ordinance and plop it down in a town that's not what they historically were, that's not what they want to be. And it's the easy way to do it is to just plagiarize it, because why reinvent the wheel? Well, because it may not work very well on the road you're on. And that's always been one of my pet peeves.
Well, that's
with zoning.
I'm glad you agree with me. So there's all sorts of good reasons why it's done, though, because it's incredibly complex. There are not zoning experts in every building on Main Street in any small town in America, and we as citizens, we just tend to think that these sorts of things are and need and a quote expert to help us with, when it's really, what do we want to see in our town? You know, we just get the project reversed. So you get 318 pages of zoning regulations, and then you start trying to read it to determine how it fits.
Right. And it's a very legally written document, just simply because of all the case law that's happened over the years. There's certain phrases and words that are ultimately make their way into a zoning ordinance that aren't terribly user friendly if you haven't read one before. But you know, I think there are ways to. It's a little time consuming and it takes some forethought, but you can draft those things that much better fit your community. One of the other difficult things about zoning is ultimately there's always a circumstance that's never addressed, and somebody wants to know where this fits in the system. And once again, I don't know that you always have to have all the answers. And my opinion has always been, if it's not in black and white and clear in the zoning ordinance, it's a yes. It's not a no. We don't presume no. We presume that if it's not in there, then it's legal. And that's my approach to it. Whereas I know other communities, that's not necessarily the case. It's like, well, you can't do that until we write a regulation for it. No, if it's not in the regulations, you do it. You might have some civil nuisance issues that come up later, but that's not for government to say at that point.
And I'm going somewhere with this, but I think background is helpful, and it's been a long time since I had you in that I had you in that chair, in that seat, to help me answer this question, right?
This shows how
I'm
long
looking
enough
at it
for
as a gift. So not every community has that guy in that seat, right? So we look at communities around us, and it no different than your job or my job. It does matter who you hire, and it does matter how they approach your customers. And I have a high degree of comfort that what you said will work for me 99 times out of 100, because I know who you are, right? So I'm good with that. And as we move through being competitive for new business, I think one of the things cities can do and this city can do is to make sure we're looking at our regulatory environment through the eyes of whether it is welcoming or whether it is not. You're welcoming regulatory environment in total.
And I will tell you that that is in the eye of the customer.
It is.
Because if you ever work with a company that's coming to town that's ever had to go through a permitting process in California, they will be very, very thankful. Yeah, but at the same time, if you've got a local business that wants to do something and is not familiar with, you know, I mean, you know, in California it could take 6-8 months to get a building permit issued. You know, you come to a town like this and it's like, what? I can't get it issued in an hour. And so, you know, and obviously all those things depend on the complexity of the issue or whatever the development is. But I mean, you can only, as you mentioned earlier, you know, you can't prevent all the, you know, they treated me bad stories, but you can just do your best job with what you have, and like you say, just make it as easy as possible.
You know,
without being a barrier yourself.
You know what we're doing here, right? We're creating a long-form commercial for the city of Abilene as we look for companies who want to grow here or move here. And you know, when we put this out and we have 10,000 views on Facebook, sort of a thing, they'll know the face that they're walking into and what you think. Yeah.
Well, and I'll tell you, Abilene has pulled out all the stops as far as the incentives that a small town can offer. I mean, we've got city commission has endorsed nearly every policy available for economic development. So there's opportunity to help on those costs.
Let's talk about that in yeses and nos. I cannot come up with a policy that was presented to the City Commission in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years that on economic development they didn't say yes to. I can't think of one.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Yeah. So that is a factual support to they're doing all they can.
Right.
So I'm also saying to the voting public that there's only so much that your local government can do for you. We have a lot more power as people and business owners than they do. The reality of it is, it's, you know, what are we doing to make our business welcoming and great place to do business with? What are your perspectives on the rest of your community? And again, Abilene has all good answers there. New hospital, improvements to our schools. Projects on our corridor streets over the last 3 or 4 years to do great things on road surfacing. Out in the county, the roads leading in, the county has spent tons of money on roads and bridges to bring people in and out and product.
If you look at Abilene as a whole on terms of the public facilities and services, you know, over the last 20 years, we have brand new facilities in every aspect except at this point, City Hall, Police Department, and Public Works Yard. I mean, other than those, and the Civic Center could use a little work at this point. But, you know, if you think, you know, new sewer plant, new water plant, new hospital, new schools, new pool, new community. I mean, we've got a good core of public facilities that are going to last us for a long time. And, you know, we get a couple more of them done, and we should be in a fairly good position for 20 or 30 years without any significant brick and mortar projects that aren't road, basically streets at this point.
You know, I think that gets overlooked a lot, James. We just take it for granted, the roads,
well, you don't look at the
streets, and the water pipes and the sewer, all of those things that you don't deal with every day. Until it's a problem, you don't think about it. But I do think, as you stated, I would agree. I think that we are exceptionally well prepared for bringing new people to town and being able to serve them. And mostly my comments are with the greatness of the people who do those things. You know, Lon Schrader and his team have to be one of the most efficient customer service delivery teams I've ever worked with as a utility guy. You know, they call the right meetings, they give you the right information, they exchange information. When they need something, they simply ask versus sending you a registered letter, you know, which all means the ability for me to respond quickly. Is that phone call that says, hey, there's some cable down over across the new school over there. Looks like it could be yours. We're going to move a pole on Wednesday. Thought maybe you could help us. Boy, that's just terrific.
Yeah.
That allows me to respond so they can respond and work together. And it just doesn't get better than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, wish list.
Wish list.
Wish list.
Okay.
Downtown Abilene.
Wish list, downtown Abilene. One of the, and you know, I get long-winded when it comes to downtown. One of the things that's been maybe a little bit frustrating for me over the years, or something I just simply haven't understood, is why there's so many incentives to making improvements to downtown buildings and loft apartments. If you have a loft apartment that's been updated in 20 years, it's rented, you know, and it's rented at a good rent rate. You know, the lack of reinvestment back into buildings is concerning, and it's doubly concerning when you consider the property tax rebates, the historic tax credits, that if bundled together in a project and you do just a little bit of forethought on that project and a couple pieces of paper, you can get, you know, 50% equity in that improvement rather quickly between the historical tax credits and rebate. Why that's not being taken advantage of, I don't know. It seems like even the buildings that have been done downtown, there's been a lot of them over the years. They're done, and then after the fact, somebody goes, "Oh, I could have applied for these and got that," you know, after the fact. So it's like there takes a little bit of forethought and planning. So my wish for downtown is I've heard that, and I read this about a bunch of towns in Iowa in the book I read. It said that if you have any size of downtown, if you have 3 restaurants and 2 or 3 bars, you've got enough activity at night to make the retailers more profitable at night, attract some kind of downtown entertainment. I mean, that's kind of the formula, is getting people down here at night. And it's nice to see some of that going on right now with some of the restaurants we have downtown. It's been positive.
Okay, we have 3 minutes left.
Okay.
One of the best ways to get people downtown at night is to have them live upstairs in the loft.
That's right.
Now we're right back around. So our ask to you, if you are or you know a downtown building owner who has upstairs space that is not renovated, you should ask them to come see James Holland
Come visit with me. We'll talk about how that
Development and let him have the long conversation with you about what is possible in your building. It will be good for you. It'll be great for us.
Yeah.
For a community, I don't think there would be anything singly better than the full development of the upstairs of downtown Abilene. It would, because it brings people. People solve all the rest of the problems. Population, all those services, the nighttime stores staying open now, all of that just goes away when you have people living in your loft and walking the streets and using Eagle's Wi-Fi. Just fixes itself. Wow,
Next wish list item.
Okay,
next wish list.
Quick.
Former Alco warehouse.
Okay.
That's currently owned by Orscheln's. You know, I've shown that with the community, the county economic development folks, to a couple of prospects. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked out yet. But it's a great facility, and it's an opportunity for somebody at a decent price. Lots of land for additional development on that site. It's you know, my wish is that we have somebody in there who could potentially hire at least 150, 300 people. That is kind of that would really make a big difference in this town and the housing market, which currently is kind of stagnant.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Especially in new construction.
And I get to say this for you because you've said it enough times to me. I know you believe it. That in a free market belief system, a asset will not go unused. So it's a matter of time before the Orscheln's warehouse finds the right buyer. It's just our job to keep trying.
And part of economics is the free flow of information. Yeah. And if people don't know that building's available, and I don't know what Orscheln's marketing aggressiveness on it has been, but But we need, we work with the state. The state, it's on their radar. They know it's a viable option for a lot of their prospects through the Department of Commerce. But, we got to get that information out there.
Okay.
If we don't get the information out there, the asset will not be recognized for what it is.
We'll do another program, and we will talk about marketing, yes or no. How's that? So we don't have any time to talk about that
Marketing,
today,
yes or no.
but boy, is that the missing link in almost everything we talked about today, just telling people the story. Okay. All right, James Holland, thanks for coming. Good to see you, my friend.
Is time up?
Yeah.
Oh.
Time was up 2 minutes ago.
Sorry about
Brian, thanks for taking time to film today in the historic
he's working
Abilene
overtime today.
Library. There's a great book right over there behind me by the Shah of Iran that I'll bet you haven't read, and you would be prospered by doing so. This is James Holland. He's a Community Development Director here for the City of Abilene. I'm Dennis Weese. I work for Eagle Communication. Wishing you a great day.